This is the Biz News Podcast, one-on-one conversations with experts in business and personal development.
Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell had accomplished a lot. She was an attorney, an author, an entrepreneur. Most people would be happy with those successes, but she says she realized that the accolades and achievements did not create lasting happiness. There had to be something more. Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell joins us on Bizgnus Interviews to reveal how she has finally found joy along with material success. Well, there you were, Lynita, an attorney, an author, an entrepreneur. Most people would be happy, ecstatic with success like that. But you say you were not happy. You didn't feel fulfilled. What was wrong with that picture?
Well, the first thing that was wrong, Douglas, is that I was defining my life using someone else's standard. I had literally checked off every box that someone else had given me. Work hard, check. Go to college, check. Have family, buy a house, make money, check, check, check. And, you get to a place in your life where you can't blame your parents anymore about why your life is unfolding the way that it is. And I had to take stock and to look at whether all of these things were really things that I wanted for my life, or it was someone else's idea of what would be good for me. And I realized that it was the latter and not the former, and that I had ultimate authority to create a life that was good for me, one that was satisfying and pleasing to me. And so I created a life full of peace, joy, and fulfillment.
Lynita, tell us about that process. Was this sort of like Isaac Newton and an apple plopped on your head one day and you said, oh my gosh, or was it something more gradual?
So it was a little from column A and a little from column B, Douglas. I would love to tell you that it was a thunderbolt and then I just changed and I never looked back. But we're friends and I like being honest with my friends, right? I was literally at the top of my game, successful law firm, publishing house, media company, mommy, wife. I mean, my life was beautiful and it still is, but I was burning it at both ends of the candle and I was exhausted and I would not stop because I was successful. And even after family members and well-meaning friends tried to talk to me about how haggard I was looking, literally my hair had broken off and I was wearing wigs all the time. And my nails split down the middle. And so I was wearing acrylic and my skin deteriorated. And so I was wearing really thick makeup like all the time. But it was not until my daughter found me passed out from exhaustion in the middle of the floor, and she was 6 years old, that I knew something had to change because she put a blanket on me and kissed me on the forehead goodnight. And the only thing I had strength to do was to say goodnight, baby. And the epiphany came, something needs to change, but I didn't know what. And so I went back to the life that I knew, which was to achieve and to get accolades and awards, right? And so 2 years went by and my body was continuing to downgrade until I was bleeding through my clothes. And I was diagnosed with fibroids and stage 4 endometriosis. And when it was time for surgery, the last one, because it was a series of surgeries, the doctor gave me these release forms that basically were like, I don't know what's going to happen. And so that's when I said, I've got to get help. And so I hired a performance coach as well as a soul coach to help me. Yes.
Okay, performance coach, I think kind of the term explains itself, but soul coach, what is that?
Yes, so they work together. So the performance coach had me to list everything that I was involved in, and it was 7 pages, single spaced. And so she said, you got to get that down to 2 pages. And I did that, but then to continue and maintain that new life where I wasn't everywhere at one time, trying to be everything to everybody, I hired a soul coach. And I see her twice a month, and we check in, make sure that I am no longer using somebody else's list to define my happiness, because it's easy to be pulled back into that life. Because Douglas, it wasn't bad. I was involved with positive, loving things, great people, but it was no longer serving me. It was destroying me. And so I had to let it go. But I still see a lot of these people. We're still running in the same professional circles. And sometimes they will call and say, hey, we got this going on. Do you want to be a part? And that old energy would try to come up. And I have to go and say, hey, remind me again why we're not doing that. And a lot of times she just sits there and lets me talk. And in talking it through, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that feeling. I remember that. And then I'm back and I'm good. But I'm not ashamed to say that I did a lot of self-healing, self-work, and I continue to work with wonderful professionals to support me.
Well, you have come up with something called the 5-step formula to the ultimate successful life.
That's right.
Thank goodness there are only 5 steps. Tell us what they are, and how did you get to that point?
Absolutely. So the 5 steps are really simple when we write them down on paper. It's the implementation and the continuity that can sometimes get us a little tripped up, just like anything. Work out every day and you lose weight, but I got to get up at 5 o'clock. Sit there like that. So the first step in the 5-step formula is to focus on people, not process. The second step is to leave it all on the field. Step 3 is to unstretch yourself thin. Step 4 is to realize that you have total and complete authority to build the life that you want, which leads into step 5, which is living the model successful life full of peace, joy, and fulfillment. And so, like I said, easy when we write it all down. It's the implementation and the continuity that can get us caught up.
As you were implementing that for yourself, what was the hardest thing?
The hardest part for me was the last one, because most of my life I have put something in my mind that I wanted and I accomplished it. I wanted to be a lawyer, I became a lawyer. I wanted to be a CPA, I became that too. Best-selling author, publisher of 9 other bestsellers, coach, international speaker, wife, mom. There's not much that I have said I want that I did not get. But this was different because it required me to not just want it and get it, but Douglas, to keep it, to maintain it.
And that must be very difficult with all the pressures of society. How do you manage that?
So the first thing is that I release those pressures from society. And the way that I do that is that I focus first and primarily on what's in front of me right here, right now. A lot of times we are so focused on next and tomorrow that we can't even enjoy this moment right here. And it even goes beyond enjoyment. If we do not take care of this present moment, our health, our relationships, our mental capacity, then tomorrow can't come. Not won't, it can't, because we won't be here. So it won't matter. But a lot of times we forget that, particularly in Western society, because we are taught to always have an answer ready, to always have some plan percolating. The only place I hear people talking about have plan A, B, and C percolating on the mind is here. But what if we just focused on right here, right now, forget the plan of A, but the person that is supposed to be coming up with that, which is yourself. And this sounds selfish, I understand, but if you take the word selfish and just break it up and focus more on being self-focused, which is what ish really means, right? that means that you can be strong, resilient, prepared for not just yourself, but everyone around you. So that's your family, that's your friends, your community, and your clients, the people on your job. And it makes you much more productive and engaged. Douglas, there are literally a third of people that we work with every day who are unhappy, and 61% of the people that we work with every day who are disengaged. That comes from us always thinking about what comes next and then feeling like we're falling short because we never took the time to take care of ourselves right now.
I'm wondering, as a mom, what have you told your daughter?
Thank you so much for asking that. So children believe what they see and not what you tell them. And so I was on a very bad road with my child watching me be all over the place and tired all the time and short-tempered. And then she watched me go through this transformation over these past 10 years. And she will tell you, don't bother mommy when she's meditating and praying in the morning. We like calm mommy. You know, she understands the importance of taking care of herself. This past semester, she was placed in 2 AP classes, honors class, and she was accepted into the Performing Arts Magnet program in our area. And when she went in to those classes the first week, she sent me a text message that said, I am dropping one AP course and I am coming out of one honors course. This is too much work. And I said, I fully support you in that decision. Good job. Because you know who has to go through those classes, Doug? She does.
And to an extent, the parents kind of go through those classes too.
We do. We absolutely do. But she's the one who has to do the work to earn the grade. She has to be the one to stay up late at night and or get up early in the morning. And she was able to assess that and say, no, this is not the life I want for me. I would rather do great in the classes that I have with the one AP course, the one honors, the one regular class, as well as the magnet program, than to have all this stress and pressure on me. That's huge. I was so proud because I didn't do that when I was in high school. I was taking 4 AP classes every year and the rest were honors. And my idea of downtime was band. But that was 3 hours practice in the evening and I ran track. So after band practice, I would go and practice by myself with track. And then I was getting home on the city bus because the activity bus left 2 hours ago. Sometimes 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. And I still had 3 hours of homework to do to prepare for the next day. But I graduated number 8 in my class. I got a full ride to college. I was successful and stressed.
And if you were to look at yourself now and compare yourself to where you were as you began your career after college, would you say you're just as successful or more successful?
I would say more now. More now, because, and this is the funny thing, but it's so beautiful. I am involved in less and still get requested to be involved in more and awarded with more. I'm not chasing anything. Every week, I get some solicitation or offer to be featured in some magazine or to be recognized. And I'm not exaggerating. And I am so blessed. It feels so good because I did not think that those things could come but for me being stressed out and burning it at both ends of the candle.
Do you see other people doing that? And when you do, I presume that you do at least, what do you tell them?
So first answer to your question is yes, I see it every day, which was what made me write my book and outline these steps, right? And the second thing I tell them is if you walk through this process and you implement it into your life, you won't lose anything. You will gain everything. And some of them, the ones who know me well and have seen me go through, they believe it because they see it. I mean, my hair has grown back. I'm not wearing all that makeup or the blinged out nails to hide what was going on with my hands. So they know the truth of it, right? But for those people who don't know me, they will say things like, well, it's easy for you to say because look at your resume. And I'll say, if you think it's easy for me to say, then you haven't looked at my resume. Yeah.
Tell our listeners and viewers more about your new book.
Absolutely. So Live Life on Fire, the ultimate guide to a successful life full of peace, joy, and fulfillment, is a cheat sheet on how to answer the question, what am I living for? Viola Davis and Oprah Winfrey had this amazing interview on Netflix last year called Oprah and Viola. And Oprah's last question to her was, what are you living for? And she responded, I want to be happy. I want to be at peace. I just really want to be full of joy. And I was like, yes, exactly. This is someone who has won every major award known to man or woman and comes from an incredibly abusive background. And she's still seeking that because she was still looking to check off those boxes, trying to validate herself. And the way that I tell people to get away from that is stop trying to live a perfect life. If you look at the definition of perfect, it is living up to a standard. But Douglas, who set that standard? You certainly didn't, right? If you did, you wouldn't be so unhappy. So I tell people instead live for excellence, which means you set the standard. And it means that that standard can change over time. And you give yourself grace for it to be a sliding scale, because what was excellent in your 20s is not what's excellent in your 40s. And I really hope that it won't be what's excellent in your 60s. We should be getting better.
Where can our listeners and viewers get more information about you? Perhaps a website?
Yes, the best way to get more information and for us to connect is on my website, which is my name, LynitaMitchell-Blackwell.com. And you can get on my email list, check out my blogs. We can connect on social and just really get to know one another.
Now, what would you like to tell our listeners and viewers that we have not had a chance to talk about?
So the biggest thing that I would like to tell your listeners and viewers is the stats say that 78% of you have forgotten what real happiness feels like, and you are willing to pay a premium to feel that way. I am telling you, you don't have to pay a dime. See, you're looking for something beyond happiness. You're really looking for joy. And joy is an inside job. Happiness, someone else dictates whether you're happy. You're happy if the sun is out. You're sad if it's raining. Whereas joy is knowing and appreciating the fact that you had this day to enjoy, that you can tell the difference between the changes in the weather, that there is nothing else that's more important right here, right now, than you being you. That sounds simple, but I promise you, once you embrace the fact that at all times you now have 100% control over how you feel, who you are, what you are, and how you show up in the world, that is when things will fall into place, and those things, people, circumstances that are not aligned with that will fall away. And therein is your joy.
You've been watching the Biz News Podcast. We welcome your input. Send your email to editor@biznews.com. Thanks for watching.